Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. Today it's all about Sky Sports Fantasy Football with £50,000 up for grabs for the winner. My name is Joe and joining me ahead of game week 16 and 17 fixtures, festive fixtures, is Luke. Luke, how are you?
I'm okay. Pretty tired. Didn't finish work until very late last night, so I'm not quite with it this morning. Relying on you to carry me today,
Okay.
Joe.
Well, I'm relying on you to carry my team as well, as usual. So we'll muddle through somehow.
Sounds good.
What we do is we'll have a look at who the sort of standout bonus stars have been in the previous game week to give us some clues over these festive fixtures. I've just picked out some of those who've got tier 2 bonuses. So in terms of saves, we've got Johnston and Meslier. So some nice budget-friendly keepers there for those in the market for moving a keeper. Shots El Ghazi. There's a differential, but he's been doing really well. It looks like Barkley's going to come back though, so it's possible that El Ghazi will lose his place. Something to monitor there. But if available and if nailed on, El Ghazi, interesting differential. Tackles, Aspilicueta. So looks like James could be in, out, certainly managed. Aspilicueta could be an option. Wan-Bissaka at Manchester United. Someone I've always...
He's back.
Yeah, I've always had my eye on Wan-Bissaka. And yeah, he's back. Sufal rather. Fred, Chiesa, the Celso and Longstaff. So some more budget-friendly options there. In terms of passing... Robertson, he's in my B team, so I was quite surprised. I've got Robertson instead of Salah in my B team. My B team's doing rubbish, by the way, but I only missed out on 3 points that way. Robertson got 13, Salah got 16, so I was quite pleased to see that. Lewis Dunk is there for passing. Bednarak, Alexander Arnold, always nice to see him there, so he is an option. Vestergaard continuing to get those tiers. Grealish, as you expect. Henderson, as you would expect, really. And some of the interesting man of the matches: Charlie Taylor, Basham, Silva at Wolves, De Bruyne. It's really good to see De Bruyne there. He's often the best player on the pitch, and you want that to be recognised by Romeo's mum, who is the bonus point judge in the stands at the moment. Maddison, El Ghazi, Calvert-Lewin and Firmino. We had on the Scoutcast a couple of weeks ago. This was more FPL focused, but we had Sam on talking about how Firmino loves December. December loves Firmino, and he tends to do well. So there we go. I mean, he may get a rest, but he is nailed on. Liverpool have good fixtures. He will be overlooked. He'll be overlooked by some. But yeah,
He's looked absolutely amazing, hasn't he, Firmino?
Yes.
He does this though, doesn't he? Like I say, it's a great call. That, to be honest, I didn't realise it coincided with December. I just realised that once a year he looks pretty good. And there we go.
She said that at the very beginning of December. She just said he loves December, and I was like, really? And she went, yeah, you watch. And then what was this? I mean, a huge score. Huge score, especially.
It's not just even that. It's just he just looked absolutely class when he played, didn't he? And he can do that. I don't think he's a Sky option, unfortunately. No. I mean, maybe he could for a punt here or there. But yeah, out of all the people you've listed there's some obvious names, isn't there? Grealish, I think everyone's still got. Yeah. Doesn't often get passing bonus, but was it West Brom they played? And it wasn't. Did they go down to 10 men as well? I can't remember now.
They did, yes. They did.
Yeah, so that will have aided it. Vestergaard is just, I mean... The fixtures aren't even that good, but I'm just going to have to shoehorn this guy in. He's just too good. He's basically the difference maker, I think, in the top 1K at the moment for the guys who've got him and guys who haven't. There's just such a difference every week because he's just churning out ridiculous points. I mean, arguably he should have won more man of the matches as well because I think he's been robbed a couple of times when he was clearly the best player on the pitch as well. So he's got goals, he's got passes, he's got man of the match. He has got tackles occasionally for a centre back, all for the price of 6.4 million.
He's in my team and has been for a number of weeks, all thanks to your call for me to get Cancelo in.
And then I think I said you should maybe go to Vestergaard. I think I did, which I wish that I had done myself.
Well, yeah, because you told me to get Cancelo in, and that was a bad call for the first week. Then it was a better call, but then I just sort of move him on. But I don't think I would not have gone to Vestergaard if I hadn't have done that move. I would have just, whoever it was, I had in the team there. So yeah,
It's funny how it works, isn't it?
yeah.
The only other one I mean, Aspilicueta is absolutely gold if he was going to play, but we know
Oh,
that's a short-term thing. Kufal is probably the other one that stands out at a cheap price. He's playing very well at the moment. West Ham haven't got that many clean sheets of late, but they are capable, and it's more to do with the fact that he's quite attacking and he gets tackle bonus all the time. So another option is 6.1 million, I think. So he's not a bad option. Also, Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, I suppose we can't rule them out. I mean, they've looked back at it, haven't they? And when Liverpool are at it, we know those two, as most of us started with one or both of them in our team, can be absolute gold. So not for me yet, but if it keeps happening, we'll suddenly have to worry about getting them in, I think.
Let's have a look at your team, see how you got on and what your plans are over Christmas. So you got Martinez in goal, 3-4-3. I've just moved to a 3-4-3 myself. I feel a bit more comfortable with it. You got Zuma, Lamptey, and Diaz, Ward-Prowse, De Bruyne, Grealish, Fernandes, Kane, Salah, Bamford. Looks, I mean, there isn't any apart from Lamptey. Lamptey's it really, but the rest looks fine.
Yeah, I got 118 points this week, which I don't know if that's good or not, to be honest. I think I felt like I didn't do that well this week, but I think it's not far off of some of the better scores, so I'll take it. There was a few disappointments. I mean, Bamford had some good games, only managed 2 points, which was disappointing. But he's been he's only returned 2 points 3 times this season, I think. So it just shows how good he is for bonus, usually the shots on target and obviously the odd goal. But yeah, like you say, my main plans, I mean, I'm happy with most of my people there. The only one is Lamptey. But being that cheap dud 6 million and I don't have anything in the bank, there's not really anyone I can go to. What I want to do is turn him into Vestergaard, but I need to find 0.4. So in order to do that, I need to do another swap. And the only other person really I'm prepared to lose there is probably Ward-Prowse, but they're away to Fulham next week, and he's been pretty good. He's been all right. I don't really want to remove him that much. So it's finding that entry time for Vestergaard. So eventually that will probably happen, and Ward-Prowse will probably go to Neto, which I could have done last night to get the extra game out of Neto, but I just felt like Wolves wouldn't do well, and luckily that came to fruition, and I fancied Ward-Prowse away to Fulham. Yeah. So I can actually do it next week after they play away to Fulham. I can bring Neto in when they play Tottenham, I think it is. Wolves play Tottenham or something. Yeah. And that gives me the money in the bank then to do the Lamptey move at some point. So that's probably what I'll do at some point. It's just the timing of when I will do it. I'm not sure. And to be honest, I would prefer Ward-Prowse to Neto because he just picks up some tier bonus every now and then. Neto's a great player, but he doesn't pick up the tiers as often.
No, I mean, I've dipped my toe into Wolves a bit more, but I'll put my team up. So here's my team. So I've gone for 3-4-3. I've got Patricio, Zuma, who is a legend, Vestergaard, we've spoken about, Dallas, still ticking along with the goals, De Bruyne, Grealish, Fernandes. I'm leaving out one of my midfielders for some drama for the podcast listeners. Kane, Vardy and Salah. And in my midfield, I've gone for Podence. Now, the reason is I looked at my team beforehand and I thought there was a strategic move to do with moving, I think it was Fernandes to Neto. You would have got a 3-for-0.
Yeah.
But then I looked at my side and I really don't want any more Brighton defenders. So I have Ben White, who is okay for the odd tier here and there. But I thought I can afford just Ben White to Podence, no problem. I can't afford to Neto. And when I've watched Wolves, even though in Sky points Neto has more at the moment, that's largely because Podence, when Jimenez was in the side, was getting withdrawn about the 50-60 minute mark. But now he's getting more minutes. I feel, and I look at when I watch them both play, Neto is good. Podence is good. They both got goals in them. They both got assists in them. They're both getting the game time. And I started to think, well, I think they're at the moment, I might be wrong on this, but I think they're going to be a muchness at the moment.
No, I agree.
And I thought, well, I can just do that move. And then if I got Neto in for Fernandes. Fernandes back in for. I'm talking 2 transfers, or I could daisy chain that transfer along.
Yeah, if you're going to fix a weak link and then cover a nice 3 days,
Yeah.
and then yeah, fine. I agree with that. It's a good
But
move.
this way, I've just got rid of a weak link. I've got in, an option, a differential there that could pay off, and yeah, I get to keep all of those other well-owned players. The other thing I was looking at was Vardy. Now I took this photo a couple of days ago when he had a flag on him, but it's been confirmed that he's pretty much going to start. He's fine. So we've got a question from fixture ticker planner expert Ian Parron a bit later, talking about transfers and what to do with them. And I've struggled a bit to use my transfers, and I'm starting to come around to the thought, which is something he suggests, of perhaps not using so many at all on these strategic moves and just going to bed and just leaving them, have a cup of tea, get to bed, just leave the team, just leave all of these high performing heavy hitters that are doing it week in, week out. I could get some 3 for 0s, 2 for 1s, and that is the name of the game in Sky. But I think I might want to save my transfers for later. I've got 30 left, and
a lot.
And I've gone up to 800th in the world, with 125 in the last one. And so I'm thinking, well, if this lot are just doing it week in, week out, I'm still maintaining that rank, keeping. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing to say that transfers will actually net you more points than the was there. I mean, there's some occasions where it's impossible, like we've talked about, when there's a 3 for 0.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're going to get you more points unless they get a red card or an injury straight away. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, there's no reason to take out really good players just for the sake of 2 for 1s and 3 for 1s. And I also agree that later on down the line, no one really knows what's going to happen. But just from experience, I know so many times where I've wished I had more transfers than I did in the last few weeks, where I could have made a real difference. Some players just come into form out of nowhere. Some disappear. We've got big teams on the beach. We've got all sorts of things that can go down later on. Champions League rotation. And if you're armed with the transfers, you can certainly make a difference in those final weeks. I can remember right in the past, for example, Dirk Kuyt for Liverpool started scoring he scored 9 goals in the last 5 games or something for Liverpool. It was absolutely mental, and was on penalties, I think, because they lost to whoever their penalty taker was. Just stuff like that can happen. And he was an absolute god in Sky for the last 9 games, having done nothing for the entire season. So. Yeah, I agree. At the moment, there's a clear blueprint, and later on there might not be. So why not wait?
One of the other reasons I bought Podence in is because I haven't been happy being a Patricio owner, but I do like Wolves fixtures coming up. So I think at some point, perhaps pre-overhaul, perhaps we'll move Patricio, if I can see an opening there, to a really high performing goalkeeper. And obviously, what I love is some fixtures to come out for February, and there's Burnley 2 single game weekdays, and after a Patricio game, and so I'll be racing to my computer to get Nick Pope in and captain him for those.
The god of the single match.
The god of the single game weekdays. So I've got that sort of in the back of my mind, but also Meslier we're looking at, Martinez at Villa. There's a lot of other options there. I don't necessarily have to go for a single game week day, but I don't know. I've got transfers left, so I've got using some, but using them sparely. And currently, I don't have any other plans to use them. I'm just gonna drink and eat over Christmas and let this go and see what happens. Let's have a look at those fixtures, because we talk about our captains then as well. So game week 16. It straddles Boxing Day and the day after, and then we move into game week 17 from January the 1st. The fixtures haven't been updated on the site yet, so I've once again used the Premier League's one there. So back to game week 16. Leicester against Manchester United, Villa against Palace, Fulham, Southampton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City against Newcastle. I'll just say it again. Man City against Newcastle, Sheffield United against Everton. KDB, isn't it? He's our captain, isn't he?
Yeah.
It just is.
It's easy. Passing bonus. I mean, he has struggled for that a lot, De Bruyne, because he's playing more in the number 10. But if you're going to get it against anyone, it's
Yeah.
Newcastle, because they do not pressure the ball until it gets near their
Yeah.
until it gets near the goal line.
Mm.
The only alternative I can see is Bruno Fernandes away to Leicester. He loves away games, but
Yeah.
it's Leicester who are just so Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Leicester could turn up
Yeah.
and be great in that game, and you might be disappointed. I can't see Newcastle turning up and being great, so I'll go for Kevin De Bruyne.
I've just recorded with David, the editor at Fantasy Football Scout, the captaincy video, which is FPL focused. But we went heavy on KDB, and Sky managers should be aware of that as well. His stats are great. His underlying stats are great. He's passing the eye test as well. The form that Man City have against Newcastle, and also there is the possibility that with Newcastle's fixtures, they might just see this as they're not going to win it. So it might be a chance for them to rotate over a busy fixture congestion time. And we know with De Bruyne that he's going to play. I say this tentatively because Pep has said so, but it's very rare he actually says something like this. He just says he's had his rest during Champions League games already recently, and we need him for these fixtures.
I think De Bruyne's done okay, but he owes us, right?
Yeah.
He owes us for this game. I want to see a huge haul from Kevin De Bruyne
He's got
here.
mega haul in him, and it could be here. We hope.
Annoyingly, though, this will be the week where nearly everyone's got his captain. I prefer it on the ones where it's more of a 50-50 split, but still, we really want it from him, because I think some people have been frustrated and taking him out and haven't bothered to get him, and you can see why. So let's hope.
On to the Sunday, 27th, Leeds against Burnley, West Ham, Brighton, Liverpool, West Brom. I'll say that again. Salah against West Brom, Wolves against Tottenham. I mean, there are options there, but it's Salah, isn't it, if you've got him?
Yeah, it's Salah. One thing, I mean, my team's overall's not been doing fantastically this guy, but one thing I have been doing very well is getting my captain right. I've picked my highest scoring captain, I think, virtually every week since overhaul. I've done really well on that, to be honest. Most of the time it's the obvious one. I'm not doing anything crazy. But yeah, I've been doing pretty well on that. I've probably just jinxed myself now, haven't I? But I mean, Kevin De Bruyne and Salah just are basically the captains I've been doing all the time. Hit those two and Bruno Fernandes. So I'm not moving away from those three, really.
When I mean, I've done the same mostly, but there was a week or two ago where I thought, I'm going to just mix it up a tiny bit. It wasn't that good with some of the fixtures, and I think I went for Grealish over De Bruyne or Fernandes one day.
Yes, there was Grealish over Bruno one day. Some people have been Kane over Bruno a couple of times. Got that wrong. Yeah,
and there's a few other things. It hasn't cost me a huge amount of points, but it has cost points doing that. So I'm sticking with the plan. I'm not going to try and be too different here. Post overhaul, we'll have a look at that and see where I'm in the rankings. But now I just want to go with the crowd. Monday the 28th of December, we've got Palace against Leicester, Chelsea against Villa, Everton against Man City.
Much tougher.
Lots of options here.
I think if you have Vardy in your team still, then I would just go Vardy on that day. I don't have him, so I can guarantee he gets points, because that guy just kills me every week.
I've got him, so I'm going to captain him.
Yeah. Chelsea versus Villa's tough, because you could. I mean, I've got Zuma, and he tempts me, because Villa, they don't score an awful lot of goals. Chelsea are quite solid at home, as we know, but they've got Jack Grealish, so that worries me. And then you could even captain Grealish, because there's no doubt that he'll look like he's the best player on the pitch again. Then you've got Everton versus City, where Everton have been very solid. If you've got Calvert-Lewin, it's not the worst idea. I don't have him. And the only other person on my team that I could use is Kevin De Bruyne. So it's basically, for me, it's Zuma, Grealish, or Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not particularly happy about any of those guys. It will probably, as a default, because I worry that Zuma will keep a clean sheet, and I worry that Grealish might not be able to score against Chelsea, end up on De Bruyne. But will I expect mass points in the game? Probably not. And I'll be worried about Vardy.
I feel I'm comfortable with Vardy against Palace. Moving on to Tuesday, 29th December, Brighton against Arsenal, Burnley against Sheffield United, Southampton against West Ham, West Brom against Leeds, Manchester United at home to Wolves. I mean, for me, Fernandes looks the best bet, but you've got Bamford. That looks like a good call. What do you think for the captaincy this day?
I'll probably go Bruno, just because he's the most popular, more avenues to score, penalties, free kicks, everything. I hope Bamford can do well. I think I'll just stick with that, to be honest. I think Man United haven't been great at home by any means, but Wolves have looked shaky in defence, new system, sometimes. No Jimenez, Bolly not in the team. So, yeah, I think I'll stick with the popular option there.
And then moving on to Wednesday, 30th December, Tottenham against Fulham, Newcastle against Liverpool. Well, this is a split call, probably.
Yeah.
Salah
this is
looks
another
great.
one where
Kane looks great.
it really does, doesn't it? I think for me, at the moment, I'm probably still on the side of Salah because Newcastle just lay down against some of the bigger teams. And, Spurs aren't looking free-flowing and Fulham are now a pretty decent side. So, that could be 2-1 to Spurs, I feel like, something like that. Fulham are making a good account of themselves. The thing is, there's a few games, there's obviously a game before this for us to help in the judgment of it. But I feel like if Liverpool have absolutely spanked West Brom the week before, which we were expecting they're going to, Spurs have struggled against Wolves, then people will end up going towards Salah, I think. And that's where I am at the moment. But it's a hard call. I may change my mind.
Tottenham against Fulham is the earlier kickoff, so if you want the security of that,
good point,
of knowing that. But at the same time, Salah was benched and came on for a spectacular score, but benched nevertheless in the Palace game previously. So you would think he's far more nailed on than ordinarily. There's going to be rest for some players, but I don't think it's going to be for Kane, and I don't think it's going to be Salah. So I think you'd be safe there. But yeah.
Also, the Liverpool teams are often leaked, so we might get lucky.
That is true, actually. They are very leaky. And then moving on to game week 17 here. So, as I said, the fixtures aren't on here yet, so I've gone for the Premier League's fixture list. So, if I put those fixtures up. So, we're looking at Friday, the 1st of January. You're looking at Everton against West Ham, Manchester United against Villa. Options, but yeah, I'm not going to play it safe. Fernandez for me there.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Saturday, 2nd of January. This is where I'm licking my lips as a Kane owner, and I would be as a Son owner too. Spurs against Leeds. Now Leeds are just so porous at the back, but so attacking. They're great. They're great for fantasy at the moment. Palace against Sheffield, Brighton against Wolves, West Brom, Arsenal. I mean, Spurs asset looks key for this one, I think.
I mean, this looks tailor-made for Son, doesn't it? I wish I had Son for this game. I mean, breaking basketball match back and forwards. You see how well. I mean, Rashford played the other day for Man United in this game. It's a similar sort of thing for me. But I've got Kane, so it'll be on Kane, and I think he'll do well as well.
Yeah, same with me. I've got Kane. I'd be very tempted if there was a nice in for Vardy to Son. I would, if there was a. But I don't think there is for this strategically because Vardy plays the next day, annoyingly. So unless there's some last minute change of Vardy plays.
I mean, the week before that you can do it. You can have Vardy versus Palace, and then you can bring in Son for home to Fulham. So it still works out pretty nicely.
Yeah, could do that. But then I kind of want Vardy away to Newcastle the next day. So then there's
especially when you look at the other captains on that day, Vardy looks the best one.
So it's 2 transfers, and there is a danger that Kane outscores Son. And so then I've missed out on So I could one of those classic things we hate. You make the transfers and it's actually costs you points because you miss out on the captain you would have had.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave that. Although it would be tempting, but I'm going to leave that. But anyone else out there, if you've got a striker you want to move on, or you've got a spare space there, Son and Kane double up for Fulham and Leeds looks good. Sunday the 3rd of January, Burnley against Fulham, Newcastle against Leicester, Chelsea against Man City, and this is what I want Vardy for, away to Newcastle. Vardy's great away. Newcastle, as you said, do have a tendency to lay down. And Chelsea, Man City, I can't quite call that, so I'm not confident enough with De Bruyne on there.
No. Yeah, it's making me realise this. I don't really like this chat because so many times I would want Vardy already. I think you said 3 times there. Yeah. I don't have him, and normally I wouldn't be too fussed if the alternative felt like he could match him, but most of the time the alternative is a tough game. Like you say, mine will probably be on De Bruyne there again away to Chelsea, and that's not ideal, is it? So I don't want to spend the transfers on Vardy though, so I'm just going to stick my head in the ground and hope that Vardy doesn't do anything, which is usually a terrible approach.
I think when we got the January, December, and January some of the January fixtures a while ago, I did that thing where I read out like the potential captains over that period, how many times, and the names that kept cropping up were Salah, De Bruyne, Kane, and Vardy. And there were other options, but it was those guys. So yeah, that's one.
Well, this is why I felt like I could cover it with Harvey Barnes. If you remember, I had Harvey Barnes, who
Yeah,
was doing very, very well in the games,
yeah,
but then he just stopped playing.
yeah,
So, as a result, I had a hatred for Leicester and get emotions in the way. I was like, I'm not swapping Barnes to Vardy. That's not happening. Do you know what I mean? I'll just
yeah.
get rid of him. I'll get someone else. But what I should have done is probably found a way to get Vardy. But it's not too late. But I don't want to use the swaps, and I'm a
No.
stubborn player. So there we go.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair enough as well. I'm sort of as a Vardy owner, but I don't want to use the swaps to get him out and get him back in again or get him out. It's just what will be with that one. Monday the 4th of January, Southampton against Liverpool. Well, Mohamed Salah, if you have him. And then I've just put in as well. I've just noted that on Tuesday the 12th of January, just thinking ahead, Sheffield United against Newcastle, Wolves against Everton. Eee. So for me, I don't have Calvert-Lewin, and this is a sort of day where that's why I got Podence in for this. So hopefully he plays and starts for that one. But yeah, just something to just explain my perhaps stupid Podence move. We've had some community questions. I'm going to start with the Ian Parron's one as well. Now he does good things planning fixtures around that and these sort of strategic moves. But even he is now asking, with the likelihood of a huge score needed to win Sky this year, because so many heavy hitters are performing, and a kind January TV fixture, is now the time for... I'll read that again. So, in very kind January in terms of the TV fixtures, is now the time for transfer consolidation before the overhaul. Are bigger points gains to be had in the latter part of the season, rather than trying several 2 or 3 for ones beforehand? So he's basically saying all the work I've done, forget it, and I maybe we should save them for another later in the season. But I can see where he's coming from. I explained my view about it earlier. I think if you have a lot of those heavy hitters, I might just keep them and just save myself a bit of stress and see what chaos is going to occur later in the season, and hope I can get an advantage. I might not, but yeah. So Ian, I agree. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, we touched on this. I agree as well. I think it's not a problem to do the odd one. I feel like if the opportunity presents itself, I don't think you need to set yourself in the mind that I'm not doing any, or I'm going to use them all later, or I'm going to do loads now and no later. You go with the flow, don't you? But as a general rule, I'm probably only doing one that allows me to get a Wolves captain on that day that you said, which might be the 3-0 for Bruno Fernandes. That's the only one in my mind right now. There's plenty of other ones I'd like if I had unlimited swaps, but I don't. So I shall wait till the end of the season.
Yes, Benny Blanco asks, should we be bringing in Vestergaard regardless of whether or not we can get a fixture gain out of it? So following on really from what Ian was saying, really is to sort of not so much look at that strategic side of it and just focus on using what little transfers you want to use before the overhaul for this kind of move, really. And how do we think of the loss of James and Chilwell will affect Zuma's returns in Sky? And he also says, thanks for all the pods and help so far this season. Always a great watch. Well, thank you very much, Benny. So yeah, a couple of questions there about defence. He's clearly thinking of getting Vestergaard in. I don't think it's going to harm Zuma, but obviously if you've got James or Chilwell, I would consider moving to Zuma or indeed Vestergaard. Yeah, they're both great options to get in.
Yeah. I feel like Chelsea's attack and general flow will be stifled a bit because Chilwell, when Chelsea didn't start the season with Chilwell because he was injured.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was just down to that. They obviously had loads of new signings, weren't fitting in properly, but Chelsea obviously didn't look particularly good in the first few weeks. And then Chilwell came back, seemed to help them quite a bit down that side. And also they weren't really sure with James and Azpilicueta in the first few weeks either, and that sort of helped it. So I don't doubt that it will affect Chelsea a little bit. Zuma's passing numbers have been low the last couple of days anyway with those guys in the team, which is a worry. But he's still been so good. They still got a clean sheet. I think he got 57 passes last night or whenever Chelsea played, which is really annoying. So, yeah, I mean, there could be a slight effect there, but not enough for me to do anything about it. I'll be keeping Zuma 100%. And the Vestergaard one, I'm with him here. I mean, I feel like I need to get him into my team. There's not a particularly good entry point, but the next two games being away to Fulham and home to West Ham, I mean, they scream to me in some way, shape, or form, considering how good Vestergaard is, getting somewhere between 5 and 10 points easily for both of those games. Be that a goal from a set piece, passing bonus, a clean sheet maybe versus West Ham.
I mean,
So
Liverpool have been
yeah,
pretty shabby in terms of defending set
yeah,
pieces.
yeah. I mean, Southampton are just a great team now. That will be a tough game for Liverpool. I feel like in the better games, the better team usually finds a way to beat Southampton. They grind them down. It ends up being 3-1, but the game's always fairly close. So yeah, I mean, I would just look to get him in, Benny, especially in your position. I think you're top 100 or whatever. He's the difference maker for me. So I
Yeah,
would, even if you're not getting an extra day, I mean, he could easily pay it back. I think just away to Fulham. I
yeah.
mean, he might not get a clean sheet in that, but I mean, he's a giant. I can see him scoring against them centre backs
Yeah, it
easily from a
is.
set piece.
I was on the Scoutcast this week talking about him in FPL terms as well. And I was saying it's like, it reminds me of although he's a different player to Robert Huth, but it gives me that security that I had when I had Robert Huth in my side. It was like, well, look, Stoke are just going to score from a defender's head, and it's going to be him. And that's what I feel with Vestergaard. I just feel that they just seem to be all aiming at his giant head on his giant
Well, when
body.
you've got Ward Prowse, who can
Yeah.
basically put the ball wherever he wants now. I mean, he's always had good delivery, but this season in particular, it has stepped up a notch, I think, and towards the end of last season as well, where it's unrivaled. So you've got basically the best set piece deliverer of the ball in the league, and possibly the best headerer of the ball from a set piece combination that is just going to continually churn out points, I think.
Your Ward Prowse with Vestergaard
I know, that's what I need to try and
could
work
be
out how
having
I'm
both.
going to do.
Not either or, but having both.
I know.
That could be Wilson Fraser levels of double
Yeah,
up.
so this is why in my mind I had actually Bamford out to Reece James because that gives me the exact 0.4 and a double up on Chelsea defence with a great defender in there. But the problem is that Leeds have just got such good games at the moment, so I can't take Bamford out. And Reece James picked up a knock. So yeah, don't know.
Some more questions. For reasons unknown, should he use one of the transfers to replace Mane with Salah on the 27th? I would. I've just checked the timing of that. It's not the first, so you're not going to know the lineup. You would think Salah's going to start. You would actually think Mane's going to start, and that would be a very annoying game to do that transfer.
That's a horrible swap to have to make, isn't it? Could easily backfire.
I wouldn't myself. I would just chance it.
I suppose if he's basically saying I want to get this done because it's going to be Salah over Mane for the rest of up until the overhaul period,
maybe
who will score more, then it's probably going to be Salah. So you're never going to have an opportunity there, are you? Because they're obviously on the same team. They always play on the same day. So when do you get it done? I mean, yeah, if you're of the opinion Salah's going to score more points than Mane from now to the overhaul, which I probably am, maybe you just have to get it done. You just have to be aware that could easily kick you in the nuts straight away in the first week.
Also, I mean, I was noting some of the stats with Liverpool, and Mane is improving. Now, this is quite interesting. This is expected. Sorry, I was looking at the last 4 game weeks expected goal involvement. Salah isn't at top, as you would imagine, but this is interesting. Shots inside the box from Salah 7, and shots on target were 10. So he's shooting from outside the box, but he's getting very accurate. And just 3 chances created. So usually what you get from Salah is way more shots than that, and hardly any of them on target. But he still manages so many shots that he's getting some of them in. But you're actually seeing that now with Mane, and you're seeing 12 shots in the box with just 4 of those on target. So what I found interesting about that with Mane is that he's shooting more, and where if players are shooting more, then there's the chance of shots bonus as well.
He looked absolutely fantastic the last game. He came off early and he was really upset. He looked great in that game. And obviously you could argue he's now had a bit more of a rest. Yeah. So yeah, it's a tricky one. This could be Mane's week. Who knows? Ultimately, they're both just such good options.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why I just wouldn't do that move at all. Just chance it. You never know what's going to happen, but could backfire. Ron asks, should we be looking to offload Dallas? Taking his couple of goals out of the equation. The bonus has dried up, and Leeds are conceding many goals. That's an understatement. Only his goals have saved him in the last 2. But is this unsustainable? He's just going to stay with me. Leeds fixtures, and I haven't got space for Bamford, so it's an easy keep for me. But for you, I guess and others with
I haven't
Bamford.
got him, but I
But
see
those with
I see what he's saying, because yeah, you can't predict goals to cover all the cracks, but the fixtures are too good. He's one of those dirt cheap price players that you're not supposed to expect much from. I mean, I've had Lamptey in that spot who hasn't turned up most weeks. He's been me 0. So trust me, Dallas has been way better. The only person I would say, if you can do it, is to move to Vestergaard. Like I said, if you can get Dallas to
yeah,
Vestergaard, which I think they're the same price, aren't they?
yeah.
So
I
it
think
shouldn't be
they're
a problem.
certainly the same ballpark. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you haven't got Vestergaard and you have got Dallas, I would make the move, regardless of the fixtures. But otherwise, and that would probably be the only situation I would move it, I would keep him, because the games are still good, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day how he's getting his points, as long as he's getting them. I think he's got the highest XG of any defender in the league,
yeah.
because he's playing in midfield, okay, most of the time. So he's getting shots on, and yeah, the bonus has dried up because of the midfield spot a lot of the time, but he's made up for that for goals instead. He just finds a way.
And
He's like,
there's assist potential as well,
yeah,
and if Leeds can get a clean sheet, that's a mega haul. But yeah, for me, he's my only Leeds. I feel I need some Leeds, and he's it.
yeah.
John NUFC asks, who are the potential template breakers? It's a good question. The template looks set for 8 or 9 players, but who could break that in the next few weeks? Maddison and Antonio stand out for him, but you can't see much more than that. I like this because it's sort of how I play Sky a bit. I don't think of it in terms of who's the 8 or 9 players are set, therefore I'll replace one of those 8 or 9. It's like, who can I add into that? Who can be my one risky move? And so at the moment, for me, it's Podence. And I think Neto would be a very good one as well. Coming out, if you can afford to get to Neto as well, another option, because Wolves play, was it 3-0 over some teams. Maddison, I think, is Vardy or bust really for me. And Antonio, yeah, we know what Antonio can do, but is he fit? And will he be fit? But any others you can think of?
I really like those 2 options he's picked, actually. I mean, Antonio, obviously, I don't have to go on about that. I love him, but we have to wait till he's back. Maddison, I do actually, I mean, he's looked really good the last few games. Maddison, I mean, to start the season, I was looking through his points right now, and he got 110 points versus City. But other than that, I mean, I know he's been affected by injury and stuff. It's literally binary 1-1-0, 1-1-1, 2-1. It's ridiculous, like his points. But of late, I mean, he got 20 points versus Brighton, was clearly the best player on the pitch. They lost 2-0 to Everton. Yeah, bad game. But against Sheffield United, where he got an assist as well, he also looked like, I mean, to be fair, he was unlucky not to get man of the match in that game. He looked really good as well. So he could work. He is a tempter. But we've been here before with Maddison. Often the end product is lacking. Just hasn't in the last couple of days, so suddenly you start noticing. Yeah, there's not really too many others that I can think of, and that's the problem right now. There is a really, really strong template. The only things that have come to mind is there's Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson are now back, looking good. I know they're fairly well high-owned overall in the game, but as in the top
1,000.
1,000, or particularly in the top 100 if you're aiming that high, I don't think many people will own these guys. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold is 0.4% in the top 1K. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
And Robertson is 10% in the top 1K, where a lot of those guys might have just left him in, to be honest, because he's not been too great of late. But, I mean, they're expensive, both of them, but they could easily, we know, if Liverpool are keeping clean sheets, then suddenly they're ridiculous value, because they offer so much more, don't they, going forward, with bonus, with everything else, like we know. It's always just, will they keep the clean sheets? And when they've kept a few, which Liverpool have started doing, suddenly they jump back up to the top. So if you were looking for a complete differential, having something like Robertson and Trent Alexander on your defence could be a crazily good differential.
If there's any injuries, so for example, De Bruyne gets injured, Fernandes, Diaz, Salah, even Vardy, not so much Kane, because if Kane got injured, I'd just get Son in immediately, because Son without Kane is even better, or has been traditionally. But yeah, all around. But as you mentioned, Diaz as well, your defenders. But looking in terms of the more expensive options, it might need a midfielder or a striker to go. But I'd be quite happy with that. They'd probably be my top choice to replace. I really like the look of Robertson in particular, especially with the amount of chances he's creating.
I also like Rashford a lot as well. He's playing very well at the moment. I just think he's awkward for Sky because we've
Yeah.
got Bruno Fernandes there, and he's a midfielder, which is a tricky position, isn't it? And he's doing well. But Rashford has looked very good of late. So he'd be another outside one that could do well, I think. 10.5 million striker, so he could be a Vardy replacement. 18 points against Sheffield United. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
another one
good.
off the
So lots of options there. Thanks so much for all your questions. Before we go, just a quick reminder about the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Lots of useful stats and information. That's where I got some of those stats about Mane out that I read out earlier. All very useful for Sky managers and FPL managers alike. Do check out the website for details. But in the meantime, have a great Christmas, everyone. And Luke, good luck with any moves you do make over Christmas, and good luck with those fixtures and captaincies in Sky.
Same to you, mate. Happy Christmas. Hope it all goes well, and I shall see you on the next one.